Can I ask, obviously, why you're trying to hide your identity and you're not willing to give me any of your personal details?
Welcome to UK Audit Network, where we expose misconduct, examine police and legal matters, defend public rights, and push for accountability. This episode comes to us from BP Visits, so make sure to check the link below and subscribe to his channel and give him the credit he deserves. In this video, Auditor BP travels to the Sofina factory in Malton to record footage using both his camera and drone. However, things quickly escalate when front desk staff intervene, wrongly accusing him of violating drone laws and insisting that he is not allowed to film. Instead of taking the time to understand the regulations, they call the police, expecting officers to arrive and support their claims.
Why do you need my name?
Because you're standing on private property.
No, I'm publicly accessible areas, surely.
This isn't public access.
Of course it is, open to the public.
No, it's not.
Well, you'd have your gates there, wouldn't you, otherwise?
This is our property. Legally, we've got title to the
Right,
land
but it's
that you're
publicly
standing
accessible. I can walk in there if I like.
You can't.
Yes, I can.
on. You can't. Private property. Signs obviously says you can't.
But I can. It's public. It's open. It's publicly accessible. You don't understand?
This is for access. There's a sign that says you're not allowed to access this property.
Where's the sign saying I am not allowed to access? Where?
Private property, no trespass.
I'm not trespassing. If I was walking in there, I'd come down to reception or something like that, wouldn't I?
Can I help you then? What would you like to do at reception?
A member of the front staff quickly assumes that the auditor is trespassing, pointing toward a sign and claiming the property is private. However, signs alone do not determine whether someone is trespassing. What actually matters is whether the area is publicly accessible. If there are no physical barriers, security enforcement, or clearly controlled entry points, then the land is effectively open to the public until someone is formally asked to leave. Businesses that allow visitors, deliveries, or customers to enter through open access points cannot simply accuse someone of trespassing the moment they step onto the property. The auditor correctly challenges this claim by pointing out an important detail. If someone were truly trespassing, they would not be walking through the normal access route that leads directly to the reception area.
Give me a tour. Can you give me a tour around?
You can't have a tour around this is a private property.
Okay, I'm only asking. I'm just...
What is your name, please?
Do I have to give you my name?
If you don't have to.
Okay,
I'd like to know your
I decline to give you...
You'd like to come to our property and have a tour, so I'd like you to know your name.
Well, maybe if you invite me in for a tour, then maybe I would give him a name.
Well, we don't do tours because this is a private business.
Oh, fair enough then, that's fine. That's okay, so I'll stay outside and just do as much video as I can see from here.
You're not allowed, I understand you want to take a drone picture as well?
Yes, I get some aerial footage,
You
yeah.
can't, it's illegal.
Illegal?
Illegal.
Where do you get that from?
Where's your license to have a drone?
Under CAA regulations, drone pilots do not require a traditional license to fly a drone recreationally or commercially in many open spaces. The legal requirements instead depend on the weight of the drone and the type of operation being carried out. If the auditor is operating a drone under 250 grams, such as a DJI Mini, he is legally permitted to fly in most areas, including near industrial locations, as long as he follows the basic flight rules. Many businesses mistakenly believe they control the airspace above their property, but that is not the case. Airspace is regulated by the Civil Aviation Authority, and unless the factory sits within a restricted zone such as near an airport or military installation, there are no legal grounds to stop a drone operator from filming.
So if I had a license, it wouldn't be illegal?
No. You need to have a license to have a drone.
Do I?
And then yes, you do. And then you have to have approval to go over private property.
Where? I think you're mistaken.
No, I'm not mistaken.
Well, where are you reading that from?
It's illegal. You can't go in a drone.
I think you're making. Are you just making that up?
I can come to your house, take a drone, and hover over your window.
Absolutely can, yeah.
No, I can't.
Yes, you can.
Okay, well,
but this isn't a residence, so this isn't a private residence. I mean, obviously there's privacy issues with the house.
So I'm just politely warning you that if you I've already called our security.
Oh, right, okay.
If you put the drone up, I will call the police and we'll take legal action.
The drone will absolutely definitely be going up.
Situations like this are a common example of businesses believing they can control drone use simply because they do not like it. The staff member's insistence clearly demonstrates a lack of knowledge on the subject. Rather than taking a moment to verify the law, they immediately resort to calling the police, assuming officers will somehow override the drone operator's legal rights. What makes this even more frustrating is that police are frequently called to incidents where no crime has actually been committed. If officers are not properly trained in drone laws, they may wrongly side with the business, reinforcing the mistaken belief that aerial filming is illegal. The staff member's reaction is not only a waste of police time, but it also highlights the need for businesses to better understand photography and drone laws in order to avoid unnecessary confrontations. Soon after, the police arrive, and one officer immediately begins fishing for information while also failing to follow proper procedure.
Basically, the reason we've been called is because the facility here, they've called with some concerns of you've been flying a drone, potentially planning to fly a drone over their facility. They've noted obviously the fact that they've got quite flammable materials, machinery and stuff which is quite expensive and obviously could cause some damage. They're worried obviously if you were to fly a drone over their property and it was to malfunction for some reason or other,
Right.
then obviously it could cause some serious damage or risk or harm to others.
So why is that a police matter?
Well, obviously if you were to cause damage with that intention, that would be a police matter.
Intention? I won't intention it to let me drone drop.
I'm not here to cause a bother or
Yeah.
fight. I'm just wanting to know what you're doing here and what your intention is.
The officer attempts to justify police involvement by suggesting that the drone could crash and potentially cause damage. However, hypothetical risks alone do not create a police matter. If no crime has been committed and there is no reckless behavior taking place, then there is nothing for the police to act upon. When the auditor asks why this situation would fall under police jurisdiction, the officer doubles down and argues that if the drone caused intentional damage, it would become a police issue. This reasoning is pointless. Of course, deliberate damage would be criminal, but there is absolutely no reason to assume that is happening here. Operating a drone within legal guidelines is not suspicious or reckless, and suggesting otherwise is simply a weak justification for unnecessary police involvement.
Obviously,
Okay.
I understand it was something to do with the YouTube channel or something.
I explained
like that.
everything to them, and then they still called the police. So did they ring 101 or 999?
It was 101.
Oh, good, thank God for that. It's not an emergency.
No.
So, okay, so
What is your purpose? It's for a YouTube channel, I understand.
yeah, just go around doing, making videos of companies I found interesting. So
Right.
do that really, and fly my drone and get some drone footage and stick it all together. I explained everything to them, and they wouldn't have it.
Right, okay.
He's just saying you're not, it's illegal. He went and looked at the CAA rules,
Yeah,
and he came out saying you can't fly within 50 metres of and all this. But
I'm assuming that's what you were all planning to do, is obviously within those, outside of that 50 metres, is that
no,
correct?
not at all, because mine's a 249-gram drone, so therefore my drone doesn't fall foul to that rule.
The officer then incorrectly claims that the auditor must remain 50 meters away from the factory while flying his drone. The auditor immediately corrects him, explaining that this restriction does not apply to his drone because it weighs under 250 grams, something the officer should have known before making such a statement. Under UK drone regulations governed by the CAA, the 50-meter horizontal distance rule only applies to drones weighing more than 250 grams when flying near uninvolved people or buildings. For drones under that weight, such as a DJI Mini, the rules are much more flexible. Operators are legally allowed to fly closer to structures and individuals provided they avoid large crowds and maintain visual line of sight. In this moment, the auditor is forced to educate the officer about regulations they should already understand, highlighting how unprepared some officers are when dealing with public filming and drone use.
I can fly anywhere with that drone, so
It does say within the 50 metres of people or building.
nope, not on the CAA.
Right,
So drones under 250 grams
Yeah.
can fly within those.
right, okay. And obviously within that as well, obviously if it's got a camera, I'm assuming you're adhering to obviously GDPR rules and stuff like that as well. Obviously,
I'm exempt to GDPR because I'm not registered on GDPR and I'm not a corporate company. So all mine is citizen journalism and it is just pure public interest. So GDPR doesn't apply to me.
This type of misunderstanding happens far too often. Police officers and businesses frequently assume that anyone recording in public must follow GDPR, when in reality GDPR mainly applies to organizations and companies that collect and process personal data. It does not apply to private individuals filming for personal, journalistic, or recreational purposes. The UK GDPR and the Data Protection Act 2018 do not prevent members of the public from filming what they can see from a lawful position, including the use of a drone. The fact that officers continue to repeat this mistake highlights a serious gap in training. Instead of wrongly insisting GDPR applies, officers should be learning the clear difference between corporate data processing and personal photography.
what drone is it that you fly, sorry?
So it's the DJI Mini 3.
Right, okay. I'm assuming that is under the...
That's, yeah, it's a 249-gram drone, yeah. Do you want me to show you? I can show you.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I'd like to show you. I'd like to stay within everything I do. I do this all the time, so everything I do is within the bounds of the law.
Yeah.
So he pulled out the wrong law, unfortunately. There you go, 249
Oh, it
grams.
says on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's right, because they need to keep them under 250. That's the whole idea of that drone, is to get under that 250 gram rule, you see.
as I understand it as well, that I know obviously you don't have to do the flight course or flight test that comes with it, but if you are flying it with a camera, you still need to register for an operator ID. Is that the case?
I do, yep. Did you know? Did you see that on the? There was a. I'll show you again.
Yeah, oh sorry. Yeah, it was on there.
Yeah. So you have to have it visible on the drone as well. So if you look, so there's the operator ID. So I won't give you any more than that.
You're not allowed to allow me to read it or show it.
Have I broken any law?
Well, I just wanted to see what it was.
Well, it's your operator ID.
Yeah, no, but
you could identify me through that.
Yeah, but that could be a number of letters or something like that.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If I've not broken.
To provide me with the operator ID.
Do you think I've broken any law?
No, but obviously what they're saying here is obviously it's their private property. You're wanting to fly over their property, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously to do that, you should identify yourself when asked.
No. Not really. Why should I? I'm a member of the public in a public area. Why should I identify to someone?
Filming over a private land that they've asking.
Doesn't matter.
Ideally, respectfully, should ask for their permission to do so.
At this point in the video, the officer begins shifting away from enforcing the law and starts policing personal feelings, which only makes the situation worse. After the auditor shows that his drone carries a valid operator ID, which legally identifies him under CAA regulations, the officer becomes unnecessarily intrusive and insists on examining it more closely even though he already has the information he needs. When the auditor reasonably asks whether he has broken any laws, the officer attempts to guilt him by claiming that because he is filming over private land he should identify himself and ask for permission out of respect. This argument has nothing to do with the law. There is no legal requirement for a drone operator to ask permission from a business before flying in unrestricted airspace. The officer's reasoning is based purely on personal feelings rather than legal facts, attempting to make the auditor appear at fault despite following all regulations properly.
Think of it this way, so if I've got a light aircraft or a helicopter and I fly over here, do I have to ring every single company to say I'm flying over your business?
No, because that's within over 400 or 400 metres plus, isn't it?
A helicopter? No chance.
They're not filming as well.
I can go 120 metres.
Like I said, I'm not here to cause a fight or bother.
Yeah, but you're making rules up, so...
I'm not making rules up, am I?
Right, I think you are.
What rules have I made up there, sorry?
That I have to seek their permission to fly the drone over their building.
It's good to do so, isn't it?
Well,
you're a member of the public and their business trying to do their day-to-day work.
Yep.
Obviously, it would have been nice for you to go and say, can I have this permission? And they'd turn around to you and say, ideally, no, they don't want you here, do they?
So reverse to that is, I'm a member of the public trying to do my piece of work, they should just leave me alone.
The officer then tries to justify the business's complaints by claiming the staff are simply trying to go about their daily work and suggesting that the auditor should have asked for permission out of courtesy. Again, this argument has no legal basis. Filming from a publicly accessible area or flying a drone in unrestricted airspace does not require permission from the property below. The auditor rightly turns the argument back on the officer, pointing out that he too is simply doing his work and that it is actually the business interfering with him. The officer's position makes little sense because it implies that someone exercising their legal rights should change their behavior just to satisfy the feelings of a company that has no authority over the airspace above it.
Surely.
Okay.
Works both ways, doesn't it? So they should respectfully leave me alone to get on. I think I've had to wait for you guys. He said I've rung the police, so I waited. I don't want you chasing me around the estate.
What is the plan of action then? How long are you meant to be here?
I'm around all the estate. I'm going to do as many as I can, many buildings as I can, so you probably get more calls, I don't know.
Right.
Are you recording the conversation?
Yes, I am. Yes,
should you not have told them? Should you not have retold me?
No.
Yes, you should. I think it's, yes, it is. It's in your policy to inform them.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It is. It's in your your policy.
It's not unexpected when dealing with emergency service that we will be recording.
This is not an emergency. This is not an emergency, though, is it? So
I'm an emergency service worker.
Right.
So, like I say, I can go to any incident I'm called to and activate my body-worn camera. I don't need to tell you that it's activated.
Right. What did you mention earlier? GDPR.
Yes.
How do I know that you was recording? How would I know that I can now get hold of that?
It's not unexpected when dealing with a person of
incorrect, officer. Incorrect, I'm afraid. You are.
I'm not.
This response also directly contradicts official police policy. According to the College of Policing's body-worn video guidance, officers must inform individuals at the earliest opportunity that they are being recorded unless doing so would compromise safety or an active investigation. The officer's refusal to acknowledge this is not just a mistake, it reflects clear arrogance. Instead of admitting he is wrong and following the correct procedures, he stubbornly refuses to accept that the auditor understands his rights better than he does. The auditor then makes a sharp and valid point, reminding the officer that he mentioned GDPR earlier, so how would he have known he was being recorded if he had never been told? This exposes a clear contradiction. The officer tried to apply GDPR rules to the auditor while failing to follow those same standards himself. The hypocrisy highlights both the officer's ego and his unwillingness to admit he made an error.
Right, so if you see the signs on there that they say video in operation, they've told you they are recording. You have to tell me you're recording. Right, okay, check it. Read your rules.
I will do.
Yeah,
But I don't.
I think you do.
That's fine.
I think you do.
I don't. Like I say, I'm not here to pick a fight.
Right.
I've just come down here on the basis of what they've said. They've got concerns for the risk of their staff and their employers.
Right, from a man with a camera.
You were sorry?
From a man with a camera. So what is the risk?
Like I say, they thought, or their rationale to us, was that if that drone were to malfunction over their property, it could cause significant damage or risk to others.
Okay, but that's my responsibility.
Yes,
Yes, and I have insurance for that. If that did happen, I'm insured.
the public liability.
I have public liability insurance, yes.
Public liability insurance is a form of business insurance that covers claims made by third parties for injuries or property damage caused by the insured person's activities. In drone operations, this insurance provides financial protection if a drone were to accidentally cause damage to a person, vehicle, or building. While it is not legally required for hobbyist drone pilots, it is often recommended for responsible operators, especially those who use drones for professional, commercial, or journalistic purposes. By mentioning that he carries public liability insurance, the auditor demonstrates that he takes responsibility for his drone use and understands the importance of safety and risk management.
So I'm fully insured, fully licensed. I do this all the time. I wouldn't do it illegally because that'd be silly. You guys would be arresting me every minute, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
You know, so
Okay.
I do it all legally. I've got to mention that thin blue alarm badge as well. I've got to mention the thin blue alarm badge. That is not standard uniform.
Okay.
So that shouldn't be on there. That's offensive for me.
Why is it offensive?
Because that's about the officers that have fallen in the line of duty, and more private citizens are being killed by officers than have fallen in line of duty, and you can check those statistics. So that is offensive. It should be removed. Could you remove that? No. Okay. So that is not standard uniform. Answer me that one.
It's a charitable organisation.
Is it standard
It's showing
uniform?
My respect to other officers.
Is it standard uniform?
It's not issued to me by the police now.
Thank you. Shouldn't be on there then. I'm offended by that. Please remove it.
The thin blue line symbol is often used within policing to represent solidarity and remembrance for officers who have died in the line of duty. However, it has also been widely criticized due to how it is perceived by the public. Some people see it as a sign of pride and unity among officers, while others interpret it as a symbol of division that reflects an us versus them mindset between police and the public. In certain cases, the symbol has been associated with resistance to public scrutiny or accountability in policing. Because of these concerns, some police forces have discouraged or even banned officers from displaying the thin blue line patch, arguing that it can undermine neutrality and make officers appear biased or less approachable to members of the public.
Can I ask, obviously, why you're trying to hide your identity and you're not willing to give me any of your personal details?
All my videos are faceless, so I always keep it like this, so faceless. He comes out with his camera, he's videoing me.
Right.
So I don't want him knowing who I am. Your
Okay.
van pulls up with China windows. If I'm videoing that, it could capture my face. So it just saves me having to
Are
do
you
a
willing
load
to
of...
give me your details? Like, it's for no reason other than we can log it down, and then obviously if in future we can
Yeah.
contact you rather than having to appear in face. We can give you a call for all I know.
No, I'll decline that request, so yeah, I haven't
Right.
broken any laws, so I don't need to, do I really? So,
enough. Like I say, as long as you're fine and happy that you're not going to cause any further injury, then
absolutely, yeah.
you'll be fine. Like I
Yeah.
say, you're not technically committing any offences as it stands at the moment,
Uh-huh.
but just, like I say, just be respectful of others as much as you can.
But they have to be respect. It works both ways. They have to respect
I've
what I'm here
seen
to
what
do.
they've done to you.
Oh, he's not being bad, don't get me wrong, he's not being bad, but what I'm saying is that I'm here to do what I'm here to do. He needs to respect that of me. He can't understand that I'm allowed, as you know, to video anything I can see on my hands from a public area. I am allowed to fly my drone over. The CAA regulates the airspace. It is not a no-fly zone, so I can fly here. It's not a problem. I'm liable for any issues if it falls out the sky. I have insurance, etc. You know, so I'm totally legal what I'm doing.
I'll go speak with my colleagues.
Yeah, please do, yeah, absolutely.
With the officer finally stepping away, the encounter comes to an end. One of the most concerning aspects of this situation was how quickly misinformation spread. The front staff, instead of educating themselves about drone regulations and public filming rights, immediately called the police believing officers would enforce rules that simply do not exist. Unfortunately, when the officer arrived, he did not demonstrate a clear understanding of the law either. Instead, he searched for reasons to challenge the auditor, bringing up GDPR, airspace restrictions, and private property arguments that did not actually apply. The officer's attitude throughout the encounter was another major issue. Rather than approaching the situation objectively, he sided with the business from the start, questioning the auditor's actions, requesting unnecessary identification, and even suggesting he should ask for permission out of courtesy. This was never really about enforcing the law. It was about trying to control a situation where no crime had occurred. Even when presented with accurate information, the officer refused to acknowledge his mistakes and continued relying on flawed reasoning instead of admitting his lack of knowledge. Encounters like this demonstrate why recording police interactions is so important. Without evidence, officers could easily misrepresent the law or pressure individuals into surrendering their rights. If the auditor had been less informed, the officer might have succeeded in shutting down a completely legal activity, not because the law required it, but simply to satisfy the business.